Hello and welcome back, everybody. Shanghai Major Qualifiers Chinese Playoff Dota 2 action. We've replaced one of our squad, no longer an Aosin, now a Blaze. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Enjoyed the series so far. It's a lot more than I expected to be at the very least. I mean, obviously LGD have been looking great throughout the entire tournament, but the fact that Newbee can even take a game off them, unsettle Sylar a little bit. I mean, that shows some promise at least.
Yeah, felt like LGD was really off that game. Not sure if it was the picks being outside their comfort zone or just not really expecting Newbie's aggression. Night Stalker definitely seemed to be the big X factor.
Absolutely. I actually feel really good about calling the Iron Talon right when we saw the Night Stalker go into the offlane. That's such a good item on him naturally because during the daytime you're pretty much useless in that offlane situation. But just being able to casually farm up a camp during the daytime, it makes your nighttime that much more potent. So I'm looking forward to seeing more item buildups like that. I think it's going to become very common, especially on those high armor, high HP regen type heroes.
Yeah, which a lot of the traditional offlaners are. So
I think that we actually do have a draft now. We'll see if we're going to see Mr. Nightstalker again. I will say that the amount of time between the Game 1 and Game 2 break was about the same amount of time as the Rocky theme song in the second film, and I just kept hearing in my head throughout that second game there, Newbie fighting back, so maybe a bit of an underdog story. We'll see if it happens.
as a Philadelphian, I love a good Rocky theme song, underdog
Dun-dun-dun.
story. You name it, we're all about it.
Absolutely. So first bands coming out, Faceless Void, as well as that Night Stalker that we were talking about, Earth Spirit, Terrorblade, and a first pick Gyrocopter this time for LGD. Sylar going to be playing that hero. Blaze, I know that he's fairly potent on this guy. He's played it a couple of times this patch and the last one as well. What are your thoughts?
Just great all-around hero. Like he's gonna be able to be relevant at all stages of the game, and you're not showing anything at all with the draft so far. You can go to the Darkseer AoE combo. You could just go into like even a push lineup. Gyrocopter can work well as long as he gets his level 6. Like Gyrocopter, this is a hero that can smoke gank at level 6. This is a guy that can carry past an hour. Like this hero just brings so much all around that newbie don't know exactly what they're walking into just yet. Looking at the bans, I think that's a nice progression of the metagame between these two teams. Earlier on, we saw the Earth Spirit Terrorblade ban out from Newbee when they were second pick in Game 1. Then it kind of got spread, where the Terrorblade was still banned out by Newbee. They're really afraid of Sylar's Terrorblade, but the Earth Spirit actually got banned out by LGD. Now they're saying, well, we have back the reins of the first pick. We don't want that Night Stalker to slip through and to level the aggression against LGD, so they're going to take care of that. And that probably is going to be good for LGD throughout the rest of the playoffs. Whether they win or lose this game, going up against teams like IGV that run the Night Stalker extremely effectively, having the mentality of saying, let's just slow the tempo down and make sure that Sylar gets off the ground.
Yeah, it's a very disruptive hero, and you can tell LGD is at their best when they play like a more organized game.
Mm-hmm.
I would say pretty much all their wins, aside from... Actually, I'd say pretty much all of their wins have been very methodical, especially for an RTK-led team, so makes sense. Disruptor is the grab for Newbie.
10 seconds remaining.
Well, I'm wondering now if, considering that you ended up being able to take that second
5
game,
seconds
do you
remaining.
want to try and run a pretty aggro strat here? Whenever I see Disruptor, I always think about that capability to try and 5-man early when their TP rotation's in to try and save the day. You're going to end up getting into a situation where you can glimpse somebody back when they're trying to TP in, and then it's suddenly a 4-on-5. But what are the other sort of iterations of this hero? Just disrupting team fights?
Yeah, I mean, the Darkseer combo would probably be good here. If they go for the
Yeah, I
Darkseer,
was thinking Darkseer.
they don't have to worry about the Darkseer second pick from LGD, and they get that combo with the kinetic static. But they actually do go for the Juggernaut instead. So we are going to be looking at just a very clear-cut situation from how his game 1 Juggernaut was a bit off. Sylar's game 2 Juggernaut was a bit off. So maybe this is a redemption
Maybe Juggernaut is not the pick. We're not sure yet, but we're going to find out.
game. Juggernaut unmasked. We'll have to see if he can really show his potential.
Not sure what's under that face there. There's a couple of sets where Juggernaut is actually showing his face, right? Or is that incorrect?
That is his face. What are you talking about?
Oh, that is his face, exactly. Oh, man.
He's permanently crying.
Oh, poor Juggernaut.
Bible thump.
I was
5
about to say
seconds
the same
remaining.
thing. Feels bad, man. But taking it for themselves this time, LGD, Sylar didn't feel incredibly comfortable on it, but LD, you've mentioned a couple of times that How is kind of a very aggro hero or aggro carry player. Who
Yeah,
likes
I
to
think
get
Jug
off
is
early.
like a classic HAL hero. Definitely in his wheelhouse. One thing I'm wondering, did LGD want Invoker? Because they did not go for it early.
It's interesting. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it has a lot of potential on a variety of heroes. The Invoker is definitely a top chief among them, but You are up against the Juggernaut, and we talked about how strong the Darkseer was on both sides potentially, but they don't want to. They know that it will be banned out in phase 2. Like if they don't pick it now, it is off the map, out of the pool. So they go ahead, they pick it up now, and that kind of starts building their draft up. They can go for like an Ancient Apparition maybe as a third pick and just have this extremely powerful AoE team fight that Newbee will have trouble pushing into.
Well, the other thing, though, is that Newbie have first pick here, so maybe LGD have to waste a ban on it themselves. The fact that either Darkseer or Invoker is now available, that's something to think about also if they want to try and do it. And a lot of time being taken here into the reserve status is we do see the Earthshaker banned out and only 14-second left with still 3 more picks and 2 more bans.
Yeah, we saw really good Shaker play last game, aside from the one with Deco, but the game was already over by then, so...
It's interesting to see actually second pick on the Radiant side here. If you actually look at the stats for 6.86 with the map changes and everything, Radiant is not doing as well as Dire, and particularly second pick Radiant, it's like losing on both ends, and it's some teams' considerations. Other teams are much more comfortable on the Radiant side, even though it has its innate disadvantages, but having second pick and Radiant just across the board, it's like a 35% win rate or something. It's really bad.
Oh my god, that's super low.
Jeez. Well, I guess whenever I am Radiant now, I just need to dodge in my pubs. That's what it comes down to. Terrorblade also.
I definitely feel more comfortable in Radiant in general, just from all those years of playing, Thrown It and various other Warcraft 3 pubs where usually your friend's the host, so you're
Yeah,
on the
exactly. You're
Radiant
auto
side.
sentinel every time.
Yeah, you just get used to it.
The reserve time is actually really low here. I mean, obviously this is a critical point in the draft for Newbee in particular because their second pick. You want to make sure that your banned into pick is the most powerful part of your draft. But at the same time, we're looking at 2 sides, both down to 15 seconds on reserve time, and we may see just the picks start flying out back and forth, trying to offset the opponent. That kind of, if they don't expect a pick, we see something a little bit off the wall for like a third or fourth pick, and you don't know how to respond. You don't really have the reserve time to really build up that counter pick.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing that I'm a little bit concerned about is, like, they want to make sure that they're going to be able to get what they need, and if they don't make something big out of this here, like the Gyrocopter Darkseer combo just seems so potent to me also. I'm a little bit concerned about Newbie and what they're going to do. They do go for the Lina ban into the Shadow Fiend again, so feeling like this is still the hero to pick.
It was really effective last game, but a lot of that was the Shaker.
Yeah, I was actually really worried about the Shadow Fiend pick when they had it just as a fourth pick, but LGD were more afraid of offlane Clockwork and support Night Stalker instead of the something that would actually protect the SF. Brian and I were talking about Dazzle or Shaker, heroes that just enable the SF to stay alive, get some raises out. So the last pick, Earthshaker, I think is what made that SF work. Otherwise, that hero could have just as easily gone like 0 and 4 in 10 minutes if really good collaboration came out from the LGD side. So they need something to protect it.
Yeah, definitely would expect LGD to pick something that can pressure the SF, at least threaten ganks. What's actually available? There's Tusk.
Ooh, that's fun. That is very interesting.
Oh.
Love this hero.
Yeah. That's a curveball. Visage was banned in game 1, right? But it was a very different opening. They had a Venge. They opened Venge Invoker, so it looked a lot more like a push strat.
Definitely.
With so much being changed, you can still tank the Omni Slash as well with the birds, correct?
That is a good question. I believe yes. Yeah, they'll just still jump to it. The Omni Slashes won't actually inflict any damage on the birds, but the attack in between the Omni Slash should take 1 or 2 hits off of them.
That's kind of a cool little interaction there as well. And Mr. Watermelon, he's coming on back. We've got a ton of minus armor right here. Presence of the Dark Lord, Gush. I mean, it's a lot of like high values of minus armor, I should say.
Yeah.
Should you just go for the Rubik here? Rubik seems really good, actually.
For LGD?
Yeah.
They really don't run much Rubik.
Not as often, definitely. But I feel like it has a lot of potential in the draft in this position. Obviously, the Juggernaut against the Rubik can be really strong, but it didn't work last game. And I would say overall, if you play it right, the Rubik can be a huge support in this game.
Yeah, I'm also wondering, what did LGD want to put mid against the Shadow Fiend? They did not want the Invoker. He got banned. Viper, they were the ones to remove. Good call there on the Rubik.
Goodness gracious, Blaze.
It's a good hero, man. Visage
He's heating
Rubik.
up.
This is This is my kind of Dota. I love these heroes. They really, especially when they get their ultimates, are able to do so much work, and it's actually a very natural combo. Rubik can play 5 position here, let the Visage build up so at least a basic medallion, maybe an axe or something like that. But like I was talking about before about like the Ancient Apparition. Ancient Apparition Visage, that is as greedy as you can get between 2 supports. But with Rubik, Visage, they've got a good economy flow, and they've also great setup between spells. The Telekinesis back Grave Chill, that's a hero that's really out of position. Even a Tidehunter might struggle against that.
They have a lot of kill potential on Tide too with the Rocket Barrage
Mhm.
and Soul Assumption. Kraken Shell won't help you against that.
Definitely. The other thing to keep in mind here is that, like, you think about the Tidehunter and where you want to see him. He's sort of that combo breaker with the Gyrocopter and Darkseer throwing out those big spells. And with Rubik having the potential to steal it, I mean, obviously you're always going to Anchor Smash immediately afterwards, but it's a little bit scary. You have to be careful that you don't end up getting interrupted in the midst of that.
Well, for LGD, they need the maybe hero. For Newbee, they'll need their second support.
So no Invoker, Lina, or Templar Assassin. Of course, the Shadow Fiend picked up by Newbie's side as well. So you got a lot of classic heroes taken out of the pool.
What are maybe's Ember used to be one of his staples.
Quap,
Yeah.
maybe?
Quap.
I like Quap. I think there's some good value in
I
that.
think you definitely want something that can pressure the Shadow Fiend.
It's a little weak against the Disruptor is the only real problem with the Queen of Pain.
LGD's turn to pick.
Bench going to be taken up for Newbie, so committing more heavily to this minus armor. With the Juggernaut there being able to dole it out, it's definitely going to be dangerous. And, you know, you think about late game, they're going to start to be able to slow siege down the tower with the Shadow Fiend, maybe an Aegis up on him and just right-clicking it down with the Tidehunter there to back it out. This is a really potent squad.
Yeah, they need a lot of experience in farm on Newbee.
10 seconds remaining.
What's it going to be for maybe? 5
5
seconds?
seconds remaining.
+2.
Nice. All right.
Maybe Zeus.
So high emphasis on magical damage output. Gyrocopter, Visage, Zeus, big nukers, just bringing heroes down very quickly. Like you mentioned, Kraken Shell doesn't really benefit Tidehunter much in this situation. All the disables are very soft. Like the Telekinesis is the longest one, and it's not that long. So the Kraken Shell is actually a pretty weak passive in this particular game. And we're going to see heroes like Shadow Fiend have to build extremely defensively.
So we were talking last time about how it's a little bit difficult for Shadow Fiend to get the full use out of that mechanism because of the nerfs to his mana cost for the raises.
Yeah.
Is this something that we might see Tidehunter pick up in this game instead?
It's a lot more common. The Arcane mech, then you usually go Blink and then finish the Guardian Greaves. That's been actually a really common build-up in China and just in Tidehunter in general.
Okay. Kind of a cool little stit. It's going to be game 3 here. LGD Gaming facing off against Newbee. Decider, who goes on to the winner bracket. We were thinking all along that it was going to be LGD, but Newbee have a draft that have the pieces there to possibly make it happen if their laning stages go well and things go according to plan. Of course, LGD have a lot of wrenches to throw in the way, but who are you guys favoring so far this game?
I think it's pretty fairly even.
The draft is very close between the two. Tidehunter's actually got Iron Talon. I like that.
Oh my goodness, everybody.
Yeah, it's I think it's a little less effective on Tide just because he naturally can farm with Anchor Smash once he gets to
Yeah.
level like at least 3, probably closer to 5. My question is, does this get him to level 5 faster? Like, can he farm the
Oh, yeah,
hard
well-
camp, stack the ancient camp, and just kind of make that work for him so
I
that
mean-
he doesn't have to risk the...
Definitely, right? Like, Anchor Smash,
Triling?
Anchor Smash isn't that good for killing off just one big creep. It's better for killing lots of smaller creeps early to mid-game, so I definitely think it'll accelerate his farm. I'm curious how much.
Yeah,
but I
that's
agree
what-
with you. It's not as... I think Aosin said last game he considers it core on Night Stalker. I would definitely agree with that. Not sure it's core on Tidehunter, well, but should be effective.
Yeah, I think it's particularly good because of how strong LGD's tri-lane is. Like, they have
Yeah.
so much kill potential. Normally, Tide is like, oh, if everything works out perfectly, then the Tide dies. But like, he's very, very tanky. In this case, he's actually pretty scared of the lane, and we have a lot of lines on the map.
Things are being drawn.
See, the problem is when I'm doing the 5-minute delay Dota TV, I don't get to draw on the map. It's not as fun. I wish you could just draw no matter what spectator you are.
So let's look at the lane matchups here. Tule going to do the mid block as the old watermelon. It's going to be Shadow Fiend versus Zeus. Normally, Shadow Fiend's pretty happy with this 1v1. As far as ganky potential, LGD don't really have a whole lot unless they want to commit pretty heavily with a 2-hero smoke yank.
Xiao Tule's not even going top. He's just going to go hard camp jungle here. It's very interesting.
Huh.
What?
Normally,
Jungle Tide, best Tide.
normally if someone wants to do that, you see them start at the big camp that's closer to the top lane as well, like the Night Stalker. That's interesting.
I guess that we talked about how dangerous that lane is. He's saying, I'm not even
Oh.
going to go there, and they get the glimpse back. That's going to be a catch, immediate kill, and first blood going down as ROTK gets one last slash from How. That's the way you want to start it.
Should have bought a
Newbee.
Fairy Fire.
Huh. Wondering why, yeah, too late. Not even poking his head out top. This is going to free up the LGD supports quite early, though.
I mean, Javis is still going to stay glued to the camps. He's still going to be pulling constantly, but the
Oh.
Rubik will try to see what's going on. He makes his first move to check out the hard camp that we were talking about, and yeah, otherwise he's probably going to start maybe harassing the SF mid.
Yeah, maybe that's why, just so the Rubik can't easily leach experience or harass you.
Sure.
That's interesting.
Or even like block the pull, and then you're like, well, it's annoying just to move different spots on the map. So, there's no reason to not to just go for your own jungle. It's safer, and if you're not going to lane anyways, it doesn't make a difference.
It's feeling like TI3 era. Just offlaners abandoning their lanes, going straight into the jungle.
You know what's the worst part about this is now we're going to see a bunch of jungle tides with Iron Talon.
With or without, I'm not sure.
That's a good
Eh.
point. Oh,
We're going to
jeez.
see a lot of Iron Talons.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty clear. Mid lane looks like we might have some action breaking out.
I think people's initial reaction to the Iron Talon was like they were all thinking of, can it work for a carry? But when you look at the fact that you can't upgrade the item, and you can't disassemble it, it's a dead item slot, it's
Yeah.
actually pretty bad for 90% of carries. But an offlaner that farms slowly, like that's actually
That's
amazing.
the dream scenario.
He's level 3.
It's not bad.
500 gold in the bank right now. Like, he wouldn't get this much in the offlane alone.
No, I wouldn't say so. Maybe he goes with when he has boots. He might be a little bit more comfortable to try to head up there with full mana and HP.
Apparently, he's just hanging down at the hard camp.
Just back to the jungle, man. Normally this is where you would have to heal, but
Yeah,
he's fine.
who needs an offlane?
Darkseer taking some harassment bottom, it looks like. Or, no, sorry, he's in the jungle. What am I talking about?
Yep, jungle Dota. The
He's
watermelon.
almost dead? Is he
What?
going to die to the neutrals?
Oh, so close.
Oh.
RTK. Making things interesting even when he's just jungling.
I don't think that's the Soul Ring either. I think that's literally him just dropping down to minimum HP.
So you see the difference there. Darkseer goes to lane first, ends up getting killed. He ends up having to go back to his own jungle. Tide just starts there, and now he's starting off in a way better spot. I'm not sure what the relative levels are between the Tide Hunter and the Darkseer, but right now at least it's feeling like they're doing exactly what they need to do.
Yeah. I feel like if the Darkseer just stays under tower and Iron Shells, like the Disruptor Glimpse shouldn't be as powerful. Like obviously it's great if he's halfway down the lane, but we'll see this rotation mid. Should be the death of maybe here. Can the Shadow Fiend get it? No, the Disruptor takes it. He's still 22 souls, so it's not that big of a deal. Tuan obviously can do a lot with farm. He's shown that time and time again. But of course, giving it to the Shadow Fiend would boost Newbee even further.
Jeez.
Is RTK lower level than the Tide?
But
Tide's got more experience. Or
It's-
they're about even.
yeah, about even.
He's still jungling.
Dire's bottom tower is under
Just
attack.
comes out at level 6, just walk in Ravage. I don't know, like it's a weird situation. I mean, obviously they know what he's doing. Like they see that he's gaining levels through their scoreboard. He's been off the map completely, but
It's
just,
very hard to shut him down where he's located.
Yeah, there's nothing they can do about it. They just have to keep it mindful that there is a Tide in this game.
They can pressure the top lane. That's about it.
So the question I have then, what does this give up, the fact that Tide isn't there in lane?
Tier 1 tower. It's like half HP, I think, right now.
Uh-oh. RTK surging, trying to run
Yeah,
away. The
he's
body
toast.
box, more than enough with the glimpse.
Jeez.
Chuan, another kill. Do you think you could like rush a blink this game with the Disruptor?
Go, who's the player who's doing that?
Whitebeard did it all the time.
Whitebeard, that's right. Yeah, I think you can go Whitebeard here.
Well, they lose their tower, but Tide Hunter level 4, a decent amount of farm across the board, and they're doing pretty good. It looks like they're going to be able to take the tower down here bottom for Newbee anyways, so I don't know if you lost anything by that. Really cool strategy, and nice to see it. Of course, the other problem with it is you do give complete and total free farm to the Gyrocopter. Only last hits that were missed by virtue of just straight up missing them.
So the RTK's been dying, so now they're going to park someone behind him. Maybe use him as bait. They should have the Zeus ult very shortly.
Yeah, I think LGD will be able to contest that tier 1 bottom for a while unless they mess up a fight.
once LGD gets Zeus ult and Gyro level 6, I think that's where we'll see them look to make a fight happen, even if it's just a bait.
Ultimates are going to be key this game. I mean, we just saw Call Down get picked up, Thunder God's Wrath picked up. Those two are huge. Later we'll get the supports online, but you also got to look out for the Omni Slash and the Ravage. Like I would say, those are just as important as the Call Down Thunder Gods, if not more so.
Yeah, it may take well, normally it would take quite a bit longer to come online, but with the Iron Talon in play, Tule's already level 5 and change.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Almost
It's
has
just it's
arcanes.
insurance, right? Like you're guaranteed to get a certain amount of farm. The soul assumption should be enough here.
Good time to go on him, but
Oh.
Tule with the TP out,
Oh.
just barely clipping him. The Zeus ult at the last second saves the day.
No KS. Zeus has failed.
The thing about that is that it is the first ultimate skill thrown out there, and if you're an offlaner, you expect to die. Well, not expect to die, but you're okay dying at least a couple of times, I feel like. And he's still got a great start, so it's not like he's crippled by that.
Like I said, I think that that's a neutral creep death. I don't know if it's intentional, but there you go.
Did he buy?
No, it looks like he lost gold on that. That sucks.
Uh-oh. RTK might just be tilting.
Newbee are playing really good right now. They've been able to really turn it around since that terrible game 1, and I don't know, he's trying to now build on into it. It looks like he was waiting for his, trying to finish off that full magic wand.
Yeah, I mean, Darkseer is very important for this draft. He's the majority of their team fight setup and initiation, so having a really bad start is going to cripple LGD's overall strategy.
ROTK was one on the Darkseer in game 1, right? Like, he was wrecking in that game. Mechanism, pipe, at like 20 minutes. Like, he was insanely farmed. And this is just completely opposite. I wonder if the Disruptor is actually completely changes his understanding of the laning configuration. Because, like I said, you have the option of just Ion Shelling under tower. You get some gold. You usually miss out on experience. But I feel like, I guess RTK plays differently with the Darkseer. He wants to be more involved in the lane, have a more direct approach, and Glimpse punishes that heavily.
Yeah, it's a really good duel or tri-lane to kill him off, and they played it well. They shut him down before he gets Surge at level 2, so I think Newbee handled the Darkseer very well this game.
I think also that we saw last time the supports being able to stack a whole heck of a lot for him in the jungle at the very beginning. I remember seeing the Venge do it, and actually we are going to have a smoke gank on up there. 3 committed for the Visage. They really need to be able to get this one.
Uh-oh, this is a big dive. Ravage is available. Are they going to look to use it? Too late. Not happening. That hurts.
That's actually a really brutal loss because like they're not even going for the gyrocopter. Gyrocopter's jungling while the Visage gets 6, and that's a very common play for efficiency. But like if you don't get the Visage there, like you're already wasting the smoke gank practically. But adding in the kill on the Tide, like when you have your ultimates online, Newbee are actually just set back so far from that one failed gank.
Yeah, they need that kill real bad.
Well, it kind of harkens back to what we were talking about earlier, that their laning stage looked really great, but then after the fact, it's maybe a little bit of decision-making as far as how far do we push this, how much further do we go for the smoke gank, and I kind of felt like because they were so committed with 3 heroes already, that they just wanted to get something, and ended up not working out for them.
It was a really long way to dive. Good play by the Visage going in the trees.
Yeah. And just Gyrocopter perfect response as well. Like, I actually think he TP'd. He was center jungle when they started the gank.
Yeah.
So I think he actually TP'd and got the call down from there.
Yeah, him and the Zeus. Still haven't seen a Ravage yet. Curious when Newbee looks to engage with that. I guess that was their first attempt to.
Yeah. If there were more heroes that clumped up and got close, but hitting a Gyrocopter on the fringe of the Ravage under tower doesn't really make a difference.
Oh, they're trying to make their move on maybe. Initial bolt comes out. He's also got his ultimate ready. Have to be careful about going on him. Too late's just going to march up the ramp. But they're quick to respond on the LGD side, so another missed opportunity. This time Chuan will have to go home. Heal up.
I wonder if we're going to see a pipe come up after the mechanism for this Tide Hunter.
That's a big shopping list, dude.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, you definitely need to blink this game.
Yeah.
It's not maybe your first item, but you definitely need to blink this game. So, like, I feel like you're talking like a 40-minute progression for those kinds of items. It's very expensive when the Tide really doesn't get much time to farm for himself. If the Juggernaut goes Battle Fury and takes Ancients every time, the Tide actually gets nothing.
But he's got the Iron Talon, man.
Of course.
Fine.
I forgot. When you start the game with a third of a Midas, you tend to get
Well,
a little
the
bit
real
more.
play would have been to go for the Midas afterwards, and then into all those items.
Midas Tide Hunter. What a world we live in.
Oh, God.
He jungles faster, right? With the Midas, he can right-click more.
Yeah.
uh,
Midas Tidehunter. Not a thing.
Definitely not. Well, we got the Helm of the Dominator up on Mr. Shadow Fiend. Does look like, at least for the moment, they're still going to be struggling with a lot of that magical damage that's coming out, and I feel like that's the thing that's been keeping them back every time. They just don't really have a great answer for it at this point.
I actually think we're going to see Spell Steal come up by the time we see our first Ravage of the game. So, could be
And not because the Rubik's getting a fast level 6,
No,
but because
not at
we're
all.
just not seeing a Ravage.
Mhm.
Oh, they can kill Hao here if they time this right. Does have the spin. It's not going to be the easiest kill.
Spin TP is an auto escape, right? Like, there's nothing to stop it.
Yeah, it really depends if they can get those familiar stuns off. One. Oh, just late. I think they get him if the stuns come through. That's a tough gank.
Yeah, you can believe, but it's such a tough kill. Juggernaut's so naturally defensive, just as long as he doesn't waste his spin to farm.
Hmm.
Slow and steady for both teams. 3-2. Big game. Winner this one match away from going to Shanghai. Very short trip for these teams, but
Yeah.
very important tournament as well.
All right, well, we got the Ravage now as well as the Omni Slash. A lot of heroes grouped up together. Are they just going to be able to walk in and do it? They do end up getting the Gush off. There's going to be the call down. Oh, only hits one on the Ravage, but I think that is going to be enough as we do end up seeing the Gyrocopter fall. Now looking for another one. Do they end up killing them off? They are going to not be able to get him.
Wow. I mean, that's actually fine for LGD. Like, first Ravage of the game, delayed until 12-minute mark, and then you only kill the Gyrocopter. It's a good kill, but that's just your Ravage. You need to make sure that every one of those counts, because LGD are going to take control of the map for the next 2 minutes.
Looks like they might want to go in Hao in the mid lane.
That tower movement, where you can't see him, the detection radius, as highlighted, it's not going to see maybe, but of course, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Ideally, when you see the Ravages like that, you want to try to get something done before it cools down, but we'll see. I'm not sure where LGD are thinking at this point.
Yeah, any tier 1 mid or bot probably. You've got 4 birds right now, so you've got a lot of teamfight potential just from the Visage alone. And yeah, just with all the ultimates ready to go.
This zoom.
I didn't realize you could zoom out that far. Goodness.
See all the chess pieces in play spread across the map.
Exactly.
Strategy, tactics.
We're getting into position now, Wave of Terror? No. They're just poking, prodding. Looking like even though they don't have the Ravage, they're going to start to pressure this. 5 heroes in the mid lane. It's pretty bold. There's the Disruptor glimpse back. They get the Static Storm off as well. A couple more right clicks. Raises a bound. That's going to be a kill. The Mechanism comes out a little bit late, and now there's going to be the vacuum back, but ROTK might have overstayed its bounds. Meanwhile, the Blade Fear going through. They're not going to be able to find any more, but that's enough right there at the start, being able to pick off the Zeus. Although Gyrocopter's still farming in the bottom lane.
All of Newbee's ganks are working this game.
Yeah, it worked out fine. Oh, the top one, obviously, quite the opposite, but...
That's true. But in general, like the past 2 games, they've had a very high success rate.
MMY got a pretty bad steal there. Thunderstrike at level 1. You're trying to get kinetic or static, and you don't get either. It's pretty frustrating.
Was that the reveal of Spell Steal also? They probably expect him to have 6 by this point.
Yeah, I mean, you can just hit a button on the scoreboard. You'll see
Right.
6. He's been that way for like 2 minutes. So, oh, nice little glimpse on maybe. He's still got the global, but he's out.
That's annoying.
I'm still waiting for the dream of 2 heroes TPing to tier 1 towers, a disruptor and an enemy, and then Lotus Orb. You glimpse the disruptor back to his own
Double
fountain.
glimpse back to the fountain. That would be cute.
One day.
Dare to dream. Dare to dream.
This one's an interesting game. Feels much more even in terms of the farm. Newbee so far connecting better on the ganks. Sylar is having his customary good start. Maybe not the easiest time, but Zeus often does struggle a bit early to mid game.
I think it's weird like this sometimes when, Newbee's able to find the ganks that they want but then not take objectives, while LGD have been able to take the top tier 1 and the bottom tier 1 while you're only losing 1 tower on the side of LGD. It creates a weird dynamic where LGD have to be careful, but they're also, as we are going to see a kill here, it does look like Shadow Fiend's going to fall, stealing one of the raises.
That's a nice pick. They even have Ravage ready. Like, everything's online, but team just wasn't quite in position.
Yeah, LGDs should be able to start kind of bullying back a Newbie. They're still very afraid of the Ravage, the AoE Static Storm, so they have to worry about how close they clump. But if they can make sure that each Ravage is only 1 or 2 man, and same with the Static Storm, then they can still take fights handily until the mechanism comes up for Tide.
Yeah, also, do want to point out they have a hill ward, which is how they were able to get the jump there.
It's definitely.
Birds.
Tule, Ravage up. Oh, that wasn't a Static Storm committed, right? That was
No,
a
he's just scouting the
okay.
birds. He wanted to try to kill one.
Goodness. That makes a lot more sense there.
Pesky, pesky birds.
That would be some serious hate.
Yeah.
Not very effective either.
So 119 CS currently on this gyrocopter. He, after getting that free lane, hasn't really looked back at all.
I'm not sure that you want to get into a farm war, though. You're up against 3 cores that all farm quite well. Tide, Shadow Fiend, and Jug, and only really Gyro is going to be able to keep up with them.
Is this the vengeance play from How? Oh, he's thinking about it.
Oh, he wants it.
After that feed under the tier 1 top, How versus RTK in game 1, yeah, he really wants to prove what he can do.
Looks like we might have a skirmish down towards Roshan. While this is going on, let's
Yeah,
see
there's
the
glimpse.
glimpse there to start it off. MMY does get off the left. He walks right out of the kinetic field. They're going to drop him forward into the team, into the bird stuns. The cooldowns there. Zeus secures the kill. No Ravage for you, sir. As Juggernaut, while that was happening, was hunting the Darkseer, who rotated on towards mid, but he will get away.
Is under attack.
So back to the split push.
So a lot of CS going about. I mean, it's been mostly a farm-oriented game, but I feel like somebody's got to pull the trigger eventually. Who do you think is actually more compelled? Obviously, you talk about how the Newbee kind of have 3 farming cores. They have heroes that can go really well into the late game. Is that putting a timer on LGD whenever they get an opportunity?
I would say so. I think LGD... I think Newbee scale better overall here.
Nice pick. Really nice pick. The Visage Birds, the Telekinesis, just everything coming into play.
Oh,
to
they
find
stole Healing Ward as well. What level is that?
Probably 1. I can't
Probably
imagine
1.
Juggernaut has more than 1 healing ward by level 11.
Yeah, he got a lot of points.
Like, there's
Stats
some
as
push
well.
strats, you'll change that, but this is definitely a farming game for How.
So, yeah, I think Newbee, if it's just a pure farm war, have the edge here, but LGD can do the mix of fighting and farming, and as long as they can occasionally get kills like that, then they can take it later. So, but on equal footing, you imagine like super late game, a double Ravage, a super farm Jug who just completely destroys a lot of the backline heroes with ease, and just having dual core versus only really 1 true damage dealer, the Gyro. I would favor Newbee on paper, but
The other thing,
a lot of it comes down to who gets the picks.
the other thing for me that I always think about when it comes down to late game is not just the heroes that you have, but also late game decision making. And for me, at least, maybe LGD feel like they have that a little bit more in the bag, that they think that they're going to be able to make the right moves and go for the jugular when it's right and back off when it's not. No, I mean, obviously Newbee is no slouch in that department either. They've been around for a while.
A lot of money in the gyrocopter. Options, of course. Manta Style seems to be the clear-cut pick-up against Juggernaut, but Battle Fury sometimes makes you think twice.
Oh, he has Manta if he wants it. Maybe thinking about something else? Butterfly?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is does he go to the next level? But Butterfly seems kind of weak. BKB is your natural pickup, but is it too soon?
BKB is actually pretty... It puts a lot of pressure on LGD to find fights.
Exactly.
And the one issue I do see for LGD, they're not very good at stopping split push. Like, who's their... Rubik Blink, I guess, is the only real initiation they have. Surge into lift. So it's tough to shut down the split push. You commit to a BKB, you gotta find those fights.
Absolutely.
It does look like you might be saving for one,
I think
though.
so, yeah. It's the most reasonable with that much gold.
Shadow Fiend also ended up picking one up, so it kind of, to me, feels like this is maybe going to be the point in the game where we're going to start to see a little bit more action as we do end up seeing MMY come in. There's going to be the spin TP out, and no way to cancel that one. He is out of there.
This game, there's no swap. There's no real solution for that. And he does go BKB. All right, LGD. If this just turns into a pure farm war, they're not going to have a good time.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
they'll be looking for some fights, some aggression here. Maybe try to force something around the Roshan pit.
Tidehunter does have his mech now also. He's had that for a bit. So Ravage mechanism up. We've only seen one Ravage so far, but obviously we don't need to talk about how much that does. It kind of speaks for itself in the team fights, as we do have a 4-man smoke gank now. I don't believe that one was spotted out by any wards.
Rubik has Blink. This could be big versus the Tide. Uh-oh. Zeus down in the river. Looks like maybe might get caught out. The smoke just about to break.
Oh, that Radiant Ward, they can glimpse, but they don't know where he was moments before. They don't know the 4-second
Gonna
timer.
wait. Now they glimpse, but it's almost back the wrong way. Maybe does end up getting caught out. The cooldown comes through, and the BKB revealed by Sylar. Surprise, but does he actually get anything done? The vacuum's there. The wall coming through. Chuan into the pit trying to survive. The creep watching this one. Static Storm now will be committed, and Chuan will die to Roshan. BKB down. That's the 10-second charge. Huge victory for Newbee.
Yeah, they
Didn't even use a Ravage.
They got absolutely nothing on the side of LGD. That's actually brutal. It's going to be harder and harder as a Juggernaut gets a split push top, gets a glyph, and of course
And they can't stop Blade Fury TP.
Yeah, and that means
Blink
he's
lift,
just going to
maybe?
get the tower.
Oh, there they go. They catch him
Still
now.
gone though. He's
Yes.
still gone.
He's fine.
Want to buy Abyssal Blade?
No thing. So the thing about that too is that over the past couple of minutes, LGD have been building a slow lead back into their favor just by solid farming all across the map and making the most of those resources. And now after that team fight, it ends up coming back into the favor of Newbee a little bit. We're looking at a Shadow Fiend, and you take a look at it right there. It's just a little U coming over and getting a bit more momentum on their side.
Hey Sid, Zeus not going to connect with the lightning bolt though, so we're not going to be able to force a BKB charge or anything of the sort. Yeah, I mean, like, if you actually look at the net worth values, though, like, as soon as Tide gets 500 more gold, he gets a Blink Dagger, he gets everything he needs. Yeah, we can talk about Pipe, we can talk about Refresher in the late game, but Blink, Mechanism, Arcanes, he's good. That is his own version of critical mass for net worth. So from there, you only have to really look at the Juggernaut and the Shadow Fiend, and they're right up there with the Gyrocopter. So they take a couple of good fights, get gold momentum that way. Gyrocopter's burning BKBs earlier, and that's going to favor the Disruptor and the Tidehunter dramatically as the game progresses.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like Newbee are actually gaining confidence as each minute goes by.
The way that LGD have itemized, we're not seeing any greedy items really at all, aside from, I believe Sylar does have the Dominator, but that's pretty much it.
Right, 5 people roaming on into the jungle. This could be big. They do end up scouting out there with the Zeus ulti. They are going to go on the Tidehunter first, but they don't want to be able to get him. Let's get the Ravage off. Steal it. Form. They're going to be able to hit it. They are able to steal Ravage. Was that?
Yeah, that is the Ravage.
It certainly is. He's got the blink in 2 seconds. BKB wearing down, but I can't keep them off their tower.
I think Newbee no. Blink, Ravage forward will connect onto 3, but where's the follow-up damage? Soul Assumption not even enough to kill Chuan as he continues to retreat. Turning. BKB now committed. The cooldown coming through. They do get off the lift on move. That's the big kill that they're looking for. Swap out, though, might be enough to keep him alive. Soul Assumption says no. Slams the door on him as MMY rushes in. This is the kind of fight they need more of. They're diving now onto Tule. Omni Slash, though, starts to do a lot of work. There's the spin afterwards. Can't quite finish off Baby, but manages to run him down after the Omni completes. Now the Gyrocopter engaging onto Tule, who's backing off. Soul Assumption, not quite enough, but the Familiars, the missile might be enough to get the job done. I think it's just a level 1 missile. And how likely to get it finished off anyway. Pretty good fight there with the stolen Ravage, but not that convincing to me.
Yeah, I mean, they were already in such a good disengaging position. They were already pretty much to their tower and beyond, and it's so easy to walk away from that. I was actually impressed with how many he caught with the Ravage. That was max blink range for sure. He did not overshoot that and lose out on some range. He got the max range, he got the best Ravage he could, and they did get a lot out of that. That was actually a great fight for LGD, but not finishing off the Tide. He bought out his blink, and Newbee are still in a position to contest with their next set of cooldowns.
And again, Gyro went BKB, so if you're right away, and he's up against the dual core, so if you're just trading evenly, that's a win for Newbee.
Yep, definitely.
It is BKB for SF, now he's down to 9, and BKB for Gyro now down to 8.
Yeah.
Did Rubik die in that fight right there? I don't think that he did.
No, but he's
got
something
Gush.
else.
Okay, got it. That's still pretty solid. I mean, being able to get that minus armor there, as we do have a 3-man smoke down again, seeing if they could find somebody. And Juggernaut looking like easy pickings, although again, Spin TV, he's just going to be able to get out of there again.
It's so frustrating for LGD. They really don't have a solution for it.
And this is where I kind of am not feeling the Visage very much. There's one kill that the Visage enabled with the kill on Tide top before the TP was done. That's a kill that most other heroes don't get because of the low damage output. But other than that, we really haven't felt the Visage's impact to a significant degree. I feel like we're going to have to see a lot more microplay from the Familiars, etc., because this just hasn't been a great Visage game all in all. ROTK in some trouble, but these aren't the best heroes to get the kills.
He's pretty tanky. Surge coming out, keeping the vision. Now they'll glimpse him back. takes another anchor smash, is going to pop the mechanism, survives for a long time, but no backup is coming. RTK's wondering where his family is. They're not home.
Farming Ancients.
They don't love you. Get out of here. Oh my God. But yeah, the Tidehunter has his blink also. That was another sort of supplemental part to that fight for Newbee. So the next fight that comes around, maybe you end up getting the Ravage there and you're going to be able to get off another spell before Rubik can steal it. Of course, if you're already in the midst of casting as Ravage is being thrown out there, by the time it gets to you, you're going to be able to steal it regardless. So those little interactions there, knowing how to get the Ravage off.
I think it's the game plan's just too dependent on the gyro right now for LGD.
Yeah.
Maybe has fallen quite far behind. Generally, Zeus struggles to keep up with a lot of the other more effective farming mids, but they haven't really been able to get that many kills with him is the big issue.
Yeah, you've talked a lot about the weaknesses of Zeus, the fact that he can so often struggle in the laning phase and 1v1 matchups. Obviously, now he's not really been able to accomplish too much. What do you feel are the strengths of the pick for the maybe Zeus here?
Obviously, great to cancel blink initiations, like Tidehunter, for example, if you can get the jump. He doesn't match up well against Shadow Fiend. I mean, we saw that earlier. There's not much maybe he could do. I think they were just really counting on fighting a lot more early on with the Gyro and the Darkseer. And to me, that goes back to the Darkseer laning stage, which was a pretty big disaster for RTK. So I think with that, with how bad the Darkseer did, it was harder for them to fight early around the Zeus, and then you're not getting the value of the pick. Then you'd rather have something like a TA, more of a secondary core, who did get banned, or maybe even an Ember Spirit for that matter.
Well, Healing Word just got picked up by the Birds. They have full charges on their attacks. They might try to snipe the Roshan.
They're going to try for this. Roshan dropping way too quickly, though. It looks like it should go down the double familiars. Not sufficient. Aegis already grabbed by the Jug. Are they going to engage? Chuan's now hunting, diving forward, looking for openings. The Omni Slash is available. Can he get in range of Sylar? Doesn't look like it quite, but Hal's committing for this. He wants to go super far. No, not going to find him. Yeah, honestly, I think at this point a blink or, well, he's going to go force. But yeah, some mobility for Chuan would be great.
I was wondering if they're trying to force out that BKB there with the glimpse being up.
Yeah, if they got the range, that would have been another BKB charge for sure.
Definitely. So that's one play that.
Whoa! Wrong part of town, buddy.
Oh my God, they glimpse him back.
They do force out the BKB. Then he gets swapped in. He may end up going down anyway. It looks like he should. Omni Slash committed. Sylar crumbling, and Newbee all of a sudden just getting pick after pick.
When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. He just is like, yeah, they got to go farm somewhere else. Their job is done there. There's no reason for them to stick around. Well, they wait for one more ancient spawn, and they absolutely obliterate the gyrocopter.
That's really frustrating, and it just goes to show again the power of that disruptor and the long range on swap. I believe she just picked up Aether Lens a couple of minutes ago also, so getting that extra range on that hero, all of a sudden you're not as safe as you thought you were because your BKB is no longer useful against that.
LGD really up against it. It's going to be a BKB grab by the Darkseer next. Newbee with the better late game, the better farming tools, and already very far ahead. Are even looking to push maybe into the base. They'll back off, clear out the enemy neutrals, but the game is looking really good for them.
Extremely mid-game oriented build from the Juggernaut. He's got Blink, Sanjin Yasha, BKB. Like, this is all about fighting here and now. So, although I agree there's such a lot of farming potential with the Battle Fury, with the Flash Farm and the SF, and they can kind of play a slower game, it seems like they don't have the intention of doing so. It seems like they really just want to say, if we have Ravage, we can go, and we will win a fight because of the items that they pick up.
I'm a little surprised by the SNY. That's very late. I thought he'd more likely go into a Manta. But like you said, I think it indicates the plan, which is Newbee want to try and win the game while they have what they see as a pretty massive advantage.
So I'm assuming in that last Roche as well that it was the fact that Juggernaut picked it up was just sort of a matter of necessity since they were coming in at them. I feel like Shadow Fiend is a pretty great holder for it to be able to slow siege down the base.
There's value in both, I would say. I don't think that the moment was that tense. The Blink Rubik was probably the only chance of scaling, and I think they might have even had eyes on him. So they might have actually made a conscious decision. It's hard to say. 3 birds coming in, but a spin will just speed them away.
Nicely done there. But they're still sticking around again. They do have that long-range glimpse as well as swap. If they're not careful, might get caught out again, and that really just shows the power of that Aether Lens. It's so uneasy that how it makes you, because you're used to thinking that you're safe at this certain range, and all of a sudden all that's thrown out the window.
Yeah, Aether Lens is definitely an interesting item in that regard. Looks like they want to fight here, though. RTK, well, does he want to fight? And then LGD say, screw it, we're backing off, but Hao wants to make his way in. He blinks onto the familiars just to get a little extra gold. Bolts coming out from the tree line. MMY now going to be the one who tries to fully engage the fight. And let's see if Newbee continue their commitment forward. Doesn't look like it. Every team very hesitant. And they just let him nail them all. Massive ravage on the 4. Oh my goodness. LGD are done. Cooked. Maybe they could turn this with the stolen Omni / Hao. They do get the Aegis MMY with the big plays, but in the end, they get the 4-hero Ravage. It ends up not being too shabby at all. Darkseer barely able to squeak away. MMY on the run.
He's fast, though. Blink on Yasha. He should be able to get out of here. They don't have anything left to bring
How
him
did
down.
LGD do that? 3 heroes are dead.
Just huge playmaking. Stolen Omni definitely makes the difference there. Saves the Darkseer. Gets Hao killed once. They didn't have the best follow-up. Shadow Fiend died very early in the fight as well. Didn't get off the Requiem to combo with the Ravage.
Did he beat KB?
I don't know if he beat.
I
don't think he did.
It might have been just a confidence thing where it's like, oh my gosh, we have an amazing Ravage. We're doing so well in this fight. I don't even have to beat KB. And then the Zeus just tears them apart.
Are they going to get Hao as well? Blade Fury TP?
Yeah, that's going to cancel the blink.
Blade Fury TP? Should be okay.
Yeah.
That was a long run to the side shop. He
Still,
was really concerned about that one.
Yeah.
That was such a weird engagement, too, because LGD showed all their... Like, the Zeus showed himself from the trees. The Darkseer got scouted out by the Troll. Then they decided to back off. Then they hesitated in backing off, and Newbee decided to go. They get the massive 4-hero Ravage. Looks like the perfect setup, but I think the biggest thing there was just no Shadow Fiend follow-up that fight.
There's an off-court swap back, honestly, before the Ravage part came through, where I think the Venge took the Shadow Fiend back, and then LG started kind of falling back, and then the Tide jumps in. There's a chance that the Shadow Fiend was just too far away to really get enough.
He might not have been in range, that's for sure.
I think it was like a good 1,000 units away at least before the blink, and then after the blink, you're a full screen and a half away.
If you're too late, though, it's very understandable. It's like you see that 4-hero Ravage, you're like, I'm going for this.
Especially on the Rubik. That's clutch, because if you get the right on top of the Rubik with the Ravage, there's no chance to spell steal, and that's just a huge difference maker.
That's a good point.
Absolutely. Well, 3,000 gold up now in the jug. Despite the fact that that team fight didn't go completely how they wanted it, they're still in the lead at this point in time. And
on the carries, but if you look at some of the other heroes, LGD's actually catching up pretty nicely.
What's the Rubik building into next?
I mean, Force Staff and Aether Lens are the only two real options, I would say.
Oh. He's not getting enough gold this time around to go for an Aghanims, I don't think.
Well, eventually, but like right now he's what, 4,800 net worth?
Exactly.
Like, it's going to be a long time.
Aether Lens is really nice here to help secure the Ravage steals as well.
Absolutely. Well, looking to just go back into a little bit of farm wars. As
you know what else was interesting there is I don't think anyone from LGD, they have what, 2 BKBs? That neither of them BKB dodged the Ravage either?
Nope.
And they still won the fight.
There
Imagine if
really
they had BKB dodged it. Maybe Newbee wouldn't have committed that much at that point.
Yeah,
but
there wasn't as much focus on the gyrocopter during that process, and so yeah, it just kind of seems scattered. Most of their damage went into the Darkseer, who is the tankiest of the bunch.
It always makes me wonder at those points if they realize that there isn't enough follow-up after the Ravage to kill them there. Like, it's super next level, but, you know, it's the dreams that they realize, you know what, they're not going to be able to kill us off in time before the stun wears off from Ravage, so we can just keep going with it and not need to waste our BKBs. I doubt that that's the play, though.
Well, Newbee definitely not as confident after that fight.
Yeah, they seem
gonna
to
slow
be
the
shaking
game
a
down.
little bit. They're just like, well, spread the map, guys. We'll get more items. That's the solution. And I mean, that's not bad. But like, they have so much gold right now on the Shadow Fiend. He's gonna pick up something from the Secret Shop. Scotty is gonna be the choice for him once more.
Yeah, this is where going for the 28-minute S&Y on the jug could come back to bite Newbee. Not really angling for the late game items. Meanwhile, you do see Sylar. Yeah, 1 carry versus 2, but he's going for much more of your traditional hard carry gyrocopter.
Yeah, this is a late game build, and he looks so much bigger. Even though the net worth metric actually favors the Juggernaut by 3K,
Yeah,
I
he
feel like
looks scarier.
Gyrocopter is the scarier late game hero right now, just because right now his BKB is still pretty good, and I mean the Butterfly Manta Dominator makes him so tank you to the physical damage.
MKB will be a big timing here.
Yeah.
Comes out right around when the butterfly's complete. But beyond that, Jug is going to have to start selling items if he wants to continue scaling.
Buys out for it also, so that's going to be up online now, which helps out a decent amount. We've talked about it a little bit. I think also Omni Slash is still something you've got to be so careful against with the gyrocopter, and just making sure that you're not fighting in those areas like the Roche Pit where there aren't any creeps to tank it.
Yeah, that's where the Manta will help out a bit.
Mm-hmm. Get that range.
Yeah.
That is silly.
Can't wait till level 16. That's when it just is absolutely ridiculous. But it's pretty much as long as it needs to be right now, for the most part.
I'm sure there's a dirty joke there.
So we've got Chuan. Haven't really seen enough from the Static Storm kinetic field, at least not recently. Obviously there is a BKB, I actually think 2 with the Darkseer.
Yeah.
But, I mean, do you feel like Chuan's in his comfort zone with this disruptor, or is it just something they felt like they needed for draft purposes?
I think they just need more vision for him so he can get better glimpses off. He had a really good start to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would like to see some more offensive wards if possible. Tough now that LGD, I believe, do have a gem. I think I just saw that when they brought up the inventory tab. And without vision, disruptor.
Oh,
Bit tough.
nice little pickup here. Okay. No telekinesis, only blink.
That was close.
And they do have a gem. They were killing a sentry ward on the side there, so.
Yeah. I think that's okay. I'm not really sure if Tide is the hero to go on there anyways. And
Ooh, Newbee want to turn this one around. They know Roche is coming soon, and meanwhile, Rubik might get caught out here. Hard to say. MY backing off. Chuan rushing in. Does he have a glimpse available? It's DDC, but he glimpses him off to the side. They're all going to converge on him. Well, there used to be a Visage there, but is there going to be any follow-up to this? Just the Visage, not the end of the world. Still have the Familiars to help out. Looks like that's all they'll get for now. But this is almost a max Roche respawn, so Newbee know it is coming soon.
nice ward there by MMY.
No, it's going to get dewarded pretty quickly, I think. If they just wave a terror in that direction, they're going to see it with the gem. But it looks like they just get to back off instead.
Yeah.
So Chuan has a gem right now. Is that the one that was on the Visage, or is that his own?
Do not know.
I think it was just the one.
Okay. So that's pretty important if that's such an early swing from one bearer to another.
Newbee into the pit now. They are going to TP. Looks like they want to try
they-
and fight this one.
Yeah, they got the ward down. Quelling Bladed it. Or Battle Fury'd it.
Familiars. 1, 2. Looking for the third. Lots of time here to try and get the initiation
Oh,
off.
Veil
The Veil
too.
gets dropped. The first bolt a bit off the mark, but they're still going to engage. Out comes the back wall. The BKBs are committed now as Moo is going to force his way onto Sylar. From the high ground, the spell steal comes out. It's only the healing ward that he's gotten. Could be a difference maker if the team's in range for it. Now the cooldown committed as Sylar moves forward. The Zuso comes out, but it's Wallhouse spinning. Everyone surviving for ages. Only the Vengeance hero down. And now the Ravage comes out, hits the entire team with the Rubik dead. Doesn't seem like there's a huge counterplay as far as spell steal goes, but still Sylar survives through these amazing Ravages.
His healing
no
ward. His
follow-up.
healing ward is still alive, and it's kept all of them, even the Visage, alive through the entire fight, and they could just keep going and keep running them down.
Even have to buy back on the Shadow Fiend now. They really want to take this Roshan, but it may end up costing them even more as RTK looks for his huge revenge. Yet things are looking pretty damn bad for Newbee after that fight. Again, like the Ravages look immaculate, but they just don't have the follow-up.
No, it was very close. Very patient from the Tide as well. Just obviously would have been great with the fact there were no BKBs in play, but that healing ward keeps them up. The Guardian Greaves armor when they're all low as well. It makes it impossible for them to be finished off, and Newbee just can't finish the job, and only the Rubik dies.
Really nice micro there by DDC to set that up with the 3 staggered familiar drops.
Definitely.
That made a big difference.
Didn't even have to resummon in the fight either, so he's got 5 familiars to work with right now.
And this is the moment where it was all looking really good for Newbee there in that mid-game build. Maybe not quite enough damage. It felt like there was also a bit of tanking of the Omni Slash there. I'm not sure if the Visage Birds were taking it through that, but regardless, it clearly was not enough damage to kill them all off. And
they're getting solutions for the Omni now. They've got a Ghost Scepter up
Yeah.
on the Rubik, a lot of armor on the Gyrocopter, even though there's an MKB. And Visage obviously has the Gravekeeper's Cloak.
And even
the familiars.
afterwards, for like even the small right clicks, I don't think that Shadow Fiend has a MKB yet. So
No. Solar Crest is actually a really big problem for the Shadow Fiend BKB. Once it expires, like that Solar Crest is going to make him pretty useless because obviously his spells are going to be on cooldown at that point in time.
well, now the slow siege comes down as the tier 2 tower is starting to fall. They're going to be able to swap back, keep their Shadow Fiend alive for the moment. With Juggernaut still down, do not want to fight this. Just trying to hold them off for as long as possible as the raises are going to come out. And at least for now, LGD don't have any signs of stopping. They're just keeping on going here. And
Sylar's item build, it's just all about the late game. It's all about just becoming this ultra 6-slotted monster. Moonshard is all he's lacking, and he is as big as he can get pretty much. BOT Moonshard and one more, and that is 6-slotted, that is 7-slotted. The Sylar just has such good late game focus. Like this Juggernaut, he's built up like so many like farming items and then into fighting items like Battle Fury into BKB, Sanjin Yasha Blink. Like he's been so emphatic about just trying to fight, and since the fights haven't been working, the kill score is practically even. We see instead Sylar pull ahead in this ultra late game fashion.
well, and again, to me, that speaks back to it's not necessarily that this build is bad by any means. It's just the fact that the team fights, as you mentioned, haven't been working out. Maybe a little bit of a lack of coordination across the board with the team. It just feels to me like if you end up maybe getting the Ravages slightly earlier sometimes, or maybe you end up having the follow-up come that much quicker. This game looks a whole lot different with Newbee taking it early, and now it's just so much harder for them to get anything done.
Now we did see the Visage resummon earlier, so it is a 3 familiar fight, but that's still pretty impactful for just chipping down the tower very quickly and then getting the stuns out. And there's a lift.
Blink lift is starting
Oh.
off. No, it's going to be okay. But the rocket does come through, connects on too late. Do they want to engage onto this? How's going to jump in off the bat, makes his move on the side, then tries to turn, but just Satanic's right back up, pops the BKB, trying to bring down the racks as quickly as possible. They get the swap off as the BKB ends. Can they kill him twice is the real question here. Ravage is ready, but doesn't want to get it stolen. You can just see MMY sitting back, waiting for that opening. Doesn't seem like he's going to have it. They do manage to crack the edges. Can they take the second fight as well? Laying into Sylar, trying to finish him off. Sylar low, almost dead. They can't quite get him. Then the Ravage not going to be enough. He just runs it, sprints away. MMY now looking for the big turnaround here. Blade Fury from House. He runs back towards the well. The Familiars are going to usher him away. Can't believe they didn't get the gyro. And
Satanic is
Satanic
full HP!
again. He's back to full health. Sylar just won't be evicted. They can't kick him out.
Guardian fucking Greaves. Like the armor, the evasion, at the last second, you just surge him out, dodge a hit, mitigate another one.
That was like an action flick, like ending there with him just barely outrunning the Ravage.
Yeah, Death
Fireballs
Star exploding
coming.
behind him, and he's just
I think he
out of there.
Did he flutter out of that, or he was just surged?
I don't. Surge. It was Surge.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's just, that was amazing. The Ravage doesn't clip him on the end, and he's, again, the Satanic is the perfect item.
Oh, geez. Steal and Gush, but honestly, at this point in time, it just seems like LGD is too crisp and clean, knowing the exact limits of their heroes. And Newbee,
Boy, you would love to have that refresher and be able to ambush them, but he's very close.
And I mean, like we were talking about, but MMY's positioning was so good there. He was so far back. He was on the other steps north of the tier 3 on the top
And
lane.
Too late knows it, so he's like, what do I do here?
Yeah.
They're thinking about going in now as Juggernaut. Blade Fury's forward, but they got to be so careful every single time. It's the only way for him to get out of these fights if things start to go south. They do swap back again. Are they going to be able to find anything after the BKB? It almost doesn't even look like they're going to find one kill. They do drop the Static Storm, but all across the board. Oh, Zeus. Say it ain't so.
With the
Buyback.
Veil. What a way to lose here for Newbee if they can't hang on. Looked like they had the game fully under control with the better late game, but a couple of really bad fights. Clutch decision-making and execution by LGD, and now they're back in the driver's seat. That's a big victory.
Huge. I mean, they practically take the full mid lane. They lose the two heroes and have to buy back on both of them. The Juggernaut goes in on a Satanic Gyrocopter without Omnislash. There's no way you kill him fast enough, no matter what you throw at him. Sylar is just too massive at this point, and LGD are playing around him perfectly. They've got the Spell Steal as a suppressive fire against the Tide. They've got the Surge ready to, and the Guardian Greaves ready to keep him alive as well. Like, LGD just know how to protect Sylar, and that's just the name of the game for them.
Who's got the gem right now? Hal's going to reveal himself mid lane. I don't know. I don't think LGD realize he's alone, or they may have gone for that.
I mean, how do you lose this game right now if you're LGD? That's the question that I have. It seems like the options are limited in terms of ways to throw.
There is a refresher coming up on the Tide within the next 1,500 gold. Actually, yeah, with the buyback, it's just going to be with like exactly that much. But yeah, it's got to be some huge double ravage, kill everything. Shadow Fiend really has to put out massive damage in the fight. Like, he went the Scotty build up, and his Requiems have been pretty distant. Like, they've been half a screen away, and obviously it loses its gusto as the souls go forth. So
I mean, Gyro's pretty much done farming at this point, so if Newbee could take this ultra late, definitely wouldn't count them out, but LGD have other ambitions. They're pushing down bottom. They want to end the game now. No, don't give them any chance to get back in it. And now a completed MKB up as Sylar is officially 6-slotted. Moon Shards, like you mentioned, could be next. But beyond that, he's pretty much done.
too big.
They use the glyph now as well on the illusion, so next creep wave coming on in, it's going to be that much more difficult to hold them back. And honestly, at this point in time, you know, we haven't even really seen the huge vacuum walls yet. We haven't seen those ginormous
We've seen a few
plays.
good ones. There's been about 3 walls that have been really on point.
But it's basically been LGD winning the fights with getting engaged on. And now you think about them being able to jump on top of Newbee, it's that much more difficult to win any of these fights. It feels like right now LGD are in complete and total driver's seat and are just waiting because they don't want to get knocked out in this best of 3 here, which would end up sending them down to the lower bracket.
And Newbee definitely still looking overall a lot stronger than expected, though.
Definitely.
They had a pretty rough group stage. Barely squeaked into the playoffs, but if they play like this, could be for sure the second team that comes through China, if assuming LGD go on to win. Not over just yet, though.
I don't know, those B teams are looking strong, but Newbee at least are coming into play for this one. They're not just rolling over, but they are backs against the wall at this point in time. LGD are just so strong right now. The Rubik has been playing immaculately. Ugly cosmetics or not. And yeah, the Gyrocopter is just a massive hero. No matter how many nerfs this guy gets, he still just seems to be able to dominate so well in the right hands.
This is pretty big. Moo getting the MKB finally has a solution, but it's really hard to stop Sylar from satanic life stealing in the fights. They don't have any BKB piercing disable.
Gotta anchor smash him.
The other thing that I wonder about here is, like, how do you keep up with the jump forward? Because you're jumping forward with the Tide, you're jumping forward with the blink from the Juggernaut, and it feels like every time Shadow Fiend is just a step behind, and you wonder if you have to go blink on him, but then that means you're not going to carry as hard as the Gyrocopter. It feels like it has to be swaps, but at the same time, then he just gets out of there. There just isn't a great answer with the BKB up.
Yeah. There is actually one interesting mechanic that will limit the Gyrocopter's damage output and therefore the lifesteal. The way that the percent-based damage reduction skills actually stack is additive. So you've got Anchor Smash, you've got negative Vengeance Aura when Venge dies, and you've got Requiem of Souls. All 3 of those can actually stack up to massive negative base damage, and Gyrocopter only has like 1 attack damage item. Most of it's agility-based. So
Big clash coming. Newbee have the high ground position. They're walking right into the Aegis. The first for Evich coming out does connect an MMY. Looks like he won't be able to get the steal this fight, but there's the Requiem to try and turn it around. How goes to work? Brings down the Darkseer, who already got the wall up, and now Newbee on the retreat after getting that initial kill. He's going to quickly buy back Moo. Glimmered and retreating. There's the Glibs back, sending MMY out of position, who did manage to steal the Requiem, it looks like, during that. But Newbee on the retreat, so they get the kill, but the Ravage is down now.
And they're on slash too.
Does he have the refresher yet? He's got to be close.
Very close.
That could actually really punish LGD. If they buy back the Darkseer, try to force the issue, don't know the refresher is ready. But, well, meanwhile, MMY might make that a moot point as he gets the Requiem off. Onto the Venge, stealing the stun now. Oh, doesn't actually lead to a kill. But they are going to go for the high ground breach.
Yeah, so all eyes on Tide. If he can get that refresher, if he can sell items, it would probably be worth it to sell items here to get a refresher.
You need refresher.
Maybe Rocky music playing again. The hearts and minds of Newbee fans all over the world, hoping that they're going to be able to make the hold. The right clicks come in. A little bit of Calais as we are going to be able to get a couple more. The Requiem comes out a second time, and that's Shadow Fiend dead. This could be just about it. It looks like RTK is up in the front, too. Nothing committed as of yet. There's going to be the right clicks down on Gyrocopter. Still staying alive through it, though, and nobody has ended up going down for LGD. Meanwhile, that's the dieback on the Juggernaut. GG, well played, ends up getting called as LGD take it.
It felt like their game, man. That bottom fight looked so good with the Ravage, but team just couldn't follow it up, and
Yeah.
LGD played it very scrappily from there. Do think maybe the Juggernaut could have gone for a slightly more late game oriented build, but at the same time, I think vast majority of it just came down to really good execution by LGD in the clutch, and Newbee, unfortunately, just not quite as polished.
Definitely. I really want to go back on the replay and look at that Shadow Fiend's positioning in that bottom lane fight, because I feel like if he was a little bit closer in the engagement, they could have finished off 2 heroes really quickly and chased down 1 or 2 more. And we.
I remember the Jug barely ends up going down to a stolen Omni
the
slash
stolen
there
Omni,
when he almost killed the Darkseer. So that's another 2-kill swing.
Like, it could have been a completely
Yeah.
different fight. That honestly could have been. We'd be looking at a very different game, potentially a very different result. Could you imagine if Newbee 2-1 to LGD, knocked him down to the lower bracket, and Newbee was only 1 best of 3 away from guaranteeing their ticket to the Shanghai Major? That would just be. Well, some people would be surprised. Some people would be losing some rares. But doesn't work out that way. LGD, they hold fast. They play around Sylar extremely well as the game progresses, and they take it convincingly.
So we have C-Deck Avengers coming up versus IG Vitality next.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting. One of those teams is a shot against LGD. I think LGD will be happy to get Newbee out of the way first before the match, but wouldn't underestimate these young up-and-coming teams.
Absolutely. I would actually say that of all the regions, China, not necessarily strongest in Tier 1. Obviously, their international LAN results haven't been great. But their Tier 2 teams are actually, in my mind, the strongest by far. Because just the way they built themselves up with all these in-house leagues and the fact that the organizations are able to support multiple teams and make sure they have everything they need structurally, resources, team houses, whatever. I actually feel like China is definitely the strongest in terms of all these up-and-coming teams. We saw it with C-Deck at TI5. We're seeing it with a ton of B teams that are making it to LAN events and are showing up to play every time.
I mean, IGV, they beat out IG, so why not? It seems like if you're...
Yeah, IG looks a
able to do
little
it.
bit weaker than the IG of old, but still a very impressive win. I mean, I think Europe's definitely up there with China as far as the Tier 2 teams, but both scenes very deep, and, well, we're seeing it now, so we'll have the brackets real quickly, guys. LGD 1 win away from going to the Major. They'll have a second chance if they do lose that next match, and we're about to hop into C-Deck Avenger versus IG Vitality. I don't think there will be too much of a delay, as the games are generally back-to-back, but who's your favorite for that one, guys?
It's tough. I have not seen enough C-Deck Avenger, to be honest with you. We haven't gotten to cover them too much on the 24-hour stream, and just in general, these guys are very new to competitive scene. Like, they've obviously play a great game. They definitely deserve their wins at the group stage, but they're kind of the unknown factor. I actually really like the way IG Vitality play. They're my favorites, but Avenger still have so much to show us, so it could go either way.
I think that from what we saw yesterday, I saw from Avengers something that you don't often see in Dota 2 teams, which is decisiveness and a willingness to really go all in for the strat that you're going for. And a lot of times you end up having these safety nets, these backup plans, being able to go for the Battle Furies to ensure that you're going for the late game, and instead just recognizing the moment when you need to be able to go for the gut, and they ended up doing it. So to me at least, I feel like that's something that's worth looking at, and if they're in a similar position, I kind of like Avengers a little bit more, but obviously IGV, they're a great team as well, and it feels pretty close to me.
All right, well, guys, we're going to take a quick break here, then we'll come back for that match. We'll move on to the winner bracket finals, which we'll be casting directly after that. So by the end of today, one team will have qualified for the Shanghai Major from the China region, and the winner of the second one tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Stick around. We'll be back.